Chapter 3, Mishnah 1. Everyone can become Tameh with Negaim, even young children, except for non-Jews and a Ger Toshav. The Mishnah describes who may examine a Nega and declare it Tameh or Tahor. Every Kohen is valid to examine Negaim and declare them Tameh or Tahor, even if he does not know the laws and needs a non-Kohen expert to help him, except that the power to actually issue the ruling of Tumah and Tahara is only in the hands of a Kohen. Therefore, if the nega is being examined by a non-Kohen expert, the procedure is as follows. When the expert decides that the nega is tameh, they say to the Kohen, declare it tameh, and he says the words, it is tameh. And if the nega is tahor, they say to him, declare it tahor, and he says it is tahor. Even though the expert is the one who decides what the ruling should be, it does not take effect until a Kohen declares it. The Mishnah now explains what should be done when a Kohen is presented with two Negaim at the same time. We do not examine two Negaim at the same time because the Kohen is required to give his full attention to each Nega, and he cannot do this when looking at two Negaim side by side. This is true whether both Negaim are on one person or whether they are on two separate people who come before the Kohen at the same time. Rather, the Kohen examines one Nega and confines it for 7 days, or confirms it as tameh, or rules it tahor. And after he finishes looking at the first nega, he goes back to examine the second one. In the previous case, the two negaim were both present on the person at the same time. Now the Mishnah discusses the law of a person who develops a second nega while still being treated for a first nega. We do not confine a person for a second nega that appeared during the week that he was being confined for a first nega. Rather, the second nega is ignored until the confinement of the first nega is complete, and only then does the Kohen examine the second nega. Similarly, we do not confirm a person as tameh for a second nega that appeared while he was already confirmed tameh for a first nega. Similarly, we do not confine a person for a second nega that appeared while he was already confirmed for a first nega, and we do not confirm a person for a second nega that appeared during the week that he was being confined for a first nega. In all of these cases, we ignore the second nega until the current week of confinement or current state of confirmed tumah has passed. The Mishnah expands upon its earlier law of how to treat two negaim that appear at the same time. However, if the second nega appeared at the beginning, i.e. after the Kohen had examined the first nega, but before he declared his ruling that it requires confinement, or if it appeared at the end of the week, i.e. after the first nega had been confined, and then examined by the Kohen for a second time, but before he declared his next ruling on the first nega, then in these cases the Kohen may examine both negaim separately, and then declare his ruling on both of them at the same time. The Mishnah now gives examples. The Kohen may confine the person for the first nega and confine him for the second nega at the same time, allowing him to undergo 1 week of confinement for two separate negaim. Or the Kohen may confirm the person for the first nega and confirm him for the second nega at the same time, allowing him to undergo 1 period of purification for both negaim. Or the Kohen may confine the person for the first nega and rule the second nega tahor. Or the Kohen may confirm the person for the first nega and rule the second nega tahor.